Hello there. Welcome to 100x Engineering. I was just reading some fine literature by Will C. Larson. I don't know if his middle name starts with a C, actually. Where did I get that from? Anyways, welcome to 100x Engineering, the show where you learn to be not a 1x, 10x, 11x, but a 100x engineer. These are not my glasses. These are my wife's glasses, and she's wandering around blind upstairs with both of our kids for some reason. So I'm just going to open the door, and she said she would come get them if she needs them. I don't know if she can make it down the stairs without her glasses on or not. So thoughts and prayers, everybody.
It was for the show. The betterment of the show.
It was for the viewers, for the 2.4 million viewers. Very happy to have you all here. I am your host, Carter Hesterman.
I'm Drew Johnson. Yeah, happy to be here as well.
You have to say that.
Yeah, I'm obligated.
Saying it. Nonetheless. Oh, Drew, I did not make any banter topics for this week. Whatever will I say?
Man, asking the wrong person. I have no banter.
So I have like 4 employees that have requested Friday off. So somebody on Twitter asked, tell me you're a gamer without telling me you're a gamer. And my response, I felt like this was a clever tweet. It was like, request PTO. Date, March 14th. 2023. That's the day Zelda comes out. Tears of the Kingdom.
I'm out of the loop. I actually didn't know that. It's the next one after Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm. Tell me you're not a gamer without telling me you're not a gamer. Am I right? Huh? Get some love for Tears of the Kingdom in the comments here. Anyways, so yeah, super excited for that. I've got a big trip coming up after that where it's just gonna be really boring. I'm going to spend a long time on a plane, so I'm really happy I'll have something to play on my Switch. Hot take though, I won't dive. This is not 100x Breath of the Wilding, although you can do some crazy stuff in that game. So maybe we should have an episode about how to launch yourself to the moon on a horse riding a shield in that game. Okay, apparently I just lagged out there. Apologies, it was clever. Can you guys hear me?
No, I think I lagged out. Sorry.
Dang it. Okay.
I didn't hear anything you said. Technical difficulties this early?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good show. It is gonna be a good show. Super excited about our question. I'll let you do your bit.
Yeah, we've got wait, what bit? I'm gonna intro our guest. No, I'm gonna intro our guest.
You say like the same thing every time. Awesome engineer.
No, this is an awesome site reliability engineer. He's also arguably a pirate, even though he's denying it. I'm pretty sure we're about to have our first pirate on the show. Let's welcome Devin Collins.
Hey there.
Round of applause for everyone. Round of applause
How's
for Devin.
How's
it going? Devin, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tell us a little about yourself.
So as hinted earlier, I'm a site reliability engineer here at Jupiter One. I've been here, I think, about 8 months. I don't know, I came in October of last year, or whatever time frame that is. Really been enjoying it, and it's a lot of fun. I'm here to talk about SRE stuff.
Yeah. We're here to talk about SRE stuff too, and it has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed working with you, and I don't get to work with you enough. So I was really happy to hear that you'd be willing to jump on the show. The thing I thought you were gonna say, like that Drew already alluded to, is that you're a pirate. Please tell us.
Yeah, I blanked.
He's avoiding the question.
Please expound.
Yeah, you're right. He told me. Yeah, I gotta hide it. No, I play Sea of Thieves pretty regularly, like twice a week for like 3 or 4 years now with some friends. And it's a lot of fun. And then I also sail, like in real life. The two are not related. I picked up.
I still don't believe that. I do not believe that.
And then I didn't used to live on the West Coast, and now that I do, I was like, I'm out here on the ocean. I might as well learn how to sail. Maybe eventually, I'll be able to hoist a pirate flag while I'm out sailing. But so far, I have not gotten that far.
Can you legally do that, or is it like a thing in like the sailing community where they'll like come and arrest you if it's like hoisting a pirate?
It's a good question. I feel like if you're a pirate, you don't care if you can legally do it.
That's fair. Tell me you're not a pirate without telling me you're not a pirate. Valid point there.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite update in Sea of Thieves? That is a game that has continually gotten content for like 6 years now, right?
Yeah, they keep getting like, I don't know if it's the BAFTA, whatever the video game awards for like best live service game. They get nominated every year. They recently improved. I'm a big PvP fan, so they improved their PvP aspect a lot. Like you can have on-demand PvP battles now instead of waiting for other people to show up.
Cool.
Which has been a lot of fun. And then their latest update just added a whole bunch of quality of life changes, which just are things that make the game more entertaining and easier to pick up both as a veteran and as a new player if you wanted to pick it up.
Very cool. This episode is not sponsored by Rare. We do like Microsoft and Gray. I'm speaking for myself, I guess. I like Microsoft. I think the last Sea of Thieves update I played was the one where they collaborated with Pirates of the Caribbean. So that was a while ago. Fun.
Yeah, I think that was about 2 years ago. That was a really good one.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Very cool. I have a note on here, and I don't remember what it was. You travel for music.
I travel in general, but I also I really like concerts. So pre-pandemic, my wife and I traveled a whole bunch all over the world. Post-pandemic, we still travel, or we're getting back into it, but now it's mostly for concerts. We were in Hawaii last weekend it's called Is for Lovers Fest. That was like an emo pop punk tour. And then we're actually, yeah. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to London for Slam Dunk Festival, which is another like pop punk type music festival. It's really big. And so we're really looking forward to that. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
Well, I think you take the award for coolest site reliability engineer. Let's I'm going to introduce our game really quick. This one's going to be a whole mess for like how you get in here. I apologize everyone for not making this super simple. Ashley, oh, by the way, we also have Ashley on the stream producing today, the unsung hero behind the scenes. Tyler is not with us today. He's still alive, but Tyler
Jesus.
All right, so this is, if we could get the link dropped in the chat, that would be awesome. So yeah, Fight Arena. Unleash all of your MMA, I was going to say MMO, MMA, fight, I say fantasies, that's a weird word. All of your aspirations on Evan, Drew, or myself. And to get here, make sure you join the US West server. We're on server 4, and I don't know, whichever game has like 3 or 4 people in it. It's probably ours. It's pretty cool. Oh, and also when you load in, it's going to have you do like a whole tutorial. Feel free to just hit escape and click main menu. It's not that hard. You click to punch and you other click to kick.
You say that. It took me forever to figure out that other click was kick.
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't figure it out until it was too late, because now you have to answer questions. And I'm going to make the game actually a little bit smaller there. So we'll have that beat there. Because, oh my gosh, Drew, you have a weapon?
I think it's so high, I don't even know where I am.
Bro,
But stay back.
Got to stick to a fist fight. Stay down. Okay, well, apparently you can also purchase weapons. I didn't know that you could do that. That makes more sense why there's money, though. All right. So starting off our questions, though, as much as I want to keep talking about Fight Arena, we'll talk more about this at the end of the episode, though, because this is just a gem. Devin, what's a site reliability engineer? Or what is site reliability engineering, and how does it differ from traditional system admins or DevOps?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And in reality, it really depends on like what company you're at or who you ask, because each company kind of treats it differently. There is like the Google SRE handbook, which is who developed it. And they kind of actually break it up into 2 things, where DevOps isn't really a role necessarily. It's a philosophy of like how you achieve whatever you want to achieve. And that's mainly like removing silos so that all of your teams are working together, and teams know what's going on. And if team A deploys something that might impact team B is already aware of it and they're not caught off guard. The other idea is that accidents happen, right? Like, we're human. Computers are only as smart as us, excluding maybe ChatGPT. And so things are going to happen, right? So just because they happen doesn't mean necessarily that someone did something wrong, but maybe there's a process that can be involved. On that same vein, they encourage smaller changes, because smaller changes are easier to roll back, to measure, to test more succinctly. And then lastly is measure everything, right? Going back to kind of smaller changes there. Part of DevOps is you can't really solve a problem if you're not looking at the data. They're very data oriented in terms of getting those solved. So taking that note of the DevOps philosophy and putting it in SRE, SRE uses a lot of those philosophies, but they kind of focus on key areas. And those are generally going to be like availability of your website, the latency and performance, right? How fast is your page responding? Or if you have background tasks, how fast are they running? Change management, going into kind of those smaller changes, or even accidents happen. So they might be responsible for managing your CI/CD process to make sure that tests run before something gets deployed, or that there's a canary process for when you roll out a new change. And then lastly is going to be monitoring and alerting to make sure that, when something does happen, they get notified, or the right teams get notified, not necessarily just SRE gets notified.
That was really, really good explanation. I was thinking of like questions to ask. Like, wait, this is not a DevOps. This is not a DevOps episode. This is an SRE episode. But where did you see the information? Where can I find more information about how Google defines DevOps?
They actually have the SRE handbook, like, because they're the ones who created the role. And I think it's SRE.Google is like, they have a web version of the handbook that you can.
Very cool.
Yeah, SRE.Google, and like you can read up their whole process on how they defined it and what they recommend. Not that that's right for everyone. As I said, every company's different, but it's a good idea to kind of get those ideas down.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's interesting the overlap there. I also really like again, not a DevOps episode, but like there's overlap. The concept of like we should be breaking down silos. I think my favorite thing you said though is we're all human, accidents happen. So next time there's an outage, I can get away with that excuse, right?
Yeah.
So why did this happen? Oh, we're all human.
That's when you think about SRE versus more traditional DevOps role. SRE is more about like they still want to automate a lot of the practices. They want to remove as much human interaction as possible just to help reduce that error. But they do that very prescriptively. So that kind of goes again the CI/CD process. Maybe they're going to force tests to go through. Before canary changes, talking about those again. But the key thing there is that way, let's say we've all seen on Twitter or something, right? Oh, some developer hit a button, deleted prod database. The idea with SRE is it's called blameless culture. And what that means is that developer who deleted that prod database, it's not their fault. It is the system's fault that they were allowed to do that. So whether that's making sure you have right permissions or, again, the right checks in place, something allowed that developer to do that. So it's blameless where it's not that person's fault, it's the system's fault.
I like that. Drew, I thought you rage quit for the record. Are you back now?
Yeah, just temporarily rage quit. I'm back.
Yeah, you couldn't beat me with your stick and you had to leave by another stick, I assume.
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah, take that, you punk. Now, thanks for that. I think that's a really good answer. How did you get interested in like SRE? Did you start there? Did you start somewhere else? How did you land into this role?
Sorry, I almost got blasted by a thing in the face there.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do magic. I had to keep my mouth shut while you're talking because Drew just unleashed fire on me. I thought this was. I take back what I said about this being like a chance to like unleash your MMA aspirations. It's more just I don't know what it is anymore.
Yeah,
like Harry Potter MMA crossover.
Yeah. So how did I get started? I've been in kind of computers for a long time. I started actually working at Geek Squad, like inside of Best Buys, fixing people's computers. I slowly worked my way up. I ended up at their corporate office, and they develop a lot of internal tools to help with automation of fixing things. When you have 1,000+ stores, you want to make sure that you're providing a similar experience to all of your customers. So they have tools to help automate virus removals or cleaning up, whatever that may be. And from there, I realized how much I appreciated that automation aspect, and just kind of making other people's lives easier is really what I enjoyed about that. So when I left Geek Squad, I went to another company, and I was still doing very similar work, but they allowed me to kind of shadow their SRE team because one of the projects I was working on involved some cloud-based technology.
So were you on Geek Squad like in the people going out to houses, or were you like Geek Squad?
That's where I started.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started in the store, then I started driving that car around to people's houses, and then I ended up at their corporate headquarters on the team that develops that tool set.
Cool.
Yeah. So then I went to another company, started developing some internal tools for them. That added some cloud-based functionality. I was like, oh, cool. I've never worked with the cloud before. And they let me shadow their SRE team, who did a bunch of that work for us. And again, it was different than like we do even here at Jupiter One, but it got me my first foray into understanding how the cloud works and using Docker. I'd never used Docker before, any of those technologies. And I just instantly fell in love with the type of work that was there. Just, for me, the big benefit of SRE is being able to build stuff that helps other developers get their job done more efficiently, using all those kind of methodologies we talked about earlier. And SRE is a role that encompasses that. So once I started doing it, I was like, oh, this is great. I like being able to help people. And I like programming. So that's kind of what led to it. Oh, there's Fire Fists?
Got Fire Fists now. just like being able to punch Drew so hard. Oh, just like that, where you do a backflip when you get hit from the upper side. Oh man, my fire fists are not doing me any good here. Did you go to school to get your job at Geek Squad? That's a very like interesting intro into the field. That like I feel like going from like Geek Squad to like SaaS eventually.
Yeah, I did go to school for computer technology, but I didn't do it to get into Geek Squad. I was able to do that without that, which was nice. I'm not here to plug Best Buy, but they kind of helped get me where allowed me to learn a lot of the technology and stuff. I was going to school at that time, but I didn't even finish school. I took way too long in school, so I didn't really finish it until probably like 4 years ago. I was in college for a very long time.
Yeah, that makes sense. We've all been there. I'm sorry. I just got distracted because I just found okay, I'm bringing a baseball bat to our fist fight.
Great. I'm getting hit by a stick here.
It's evolving into a non-fist fight. Oh, shoot, I don't even recognize if we're on the right server. Yes, we are. That's super interesting. Drew, I'm going to make you take the next question so that I can get loaded back into the game.
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I'm just so focused. My ping is so low. I have to.
I need you to lose.
So I have questions. So like you've kind of given this overview of SRE and like what your main like goals are, but I'm still a little confused. So like what are you trying to enable your engineering teams to do exactly? Like are you just trying to help developer productivity in general, or are there like goals that SRE kind of lends itself to?
It's a good question. I think there's two pieces of it. One is, yes, developer productivity is a huge one, right? And that's where kind of a lot of the automation and things come in, is we want to help developers get their stuff out much faster. But at the same time, we also want it to be much safer. So, we don't just want to say, hey, here's the tools to go deploy everything, here's the tools to deploy everything, but also make sure you're deploying it in the right way. And then the other part of that is make sure that our customers, and I say our customers, SRE views their customers as developers because that's who we build tools for, but the company's customers, right, people who use our product, we want them to have a good experience. So that's where a lot of the measuring comes into place, of making sure, the latency and the responsiveness of our website, making sure that systems stay running, that they're returning in a proper amount of time. We use that, a method called SLOs, service level objectives. I'm going to have to look up what the different things are, but there's 3 parts to SLOs. So there's the SLA, which is an agreement with the customer, which might be like, hey, you've got, 99.9% uptime. And so the objective is generally that, right? 99.9% uptime. That's your SLO. And your SLI is how we measure that. And so it's SRE's responsibility to have a way to measure how long is our website up for. If we say we're going to promise 3 nines, right, 99.9%, we need a way to measure that and show a customer like, yes, we actually have that up.
Do you have any wiggle room in defining what qualifies as uptime? Like, is it like, if I can load the main page, it counts, or is it like, how do you define that?
Well, SRE doesn't actually define that. We work very closely with the engineering team. So it would be like the product manager of your service. We talk to them and we want to know, hey, what do you define as uptime? Because maybe your backend service that processes data could be down and it's just running slow, but the customer can still access all of their, their front end information or their recent information. So definitely measuring that is a key aspect. Going back to kind of the developer stuff, I mentioned CI/CD before. Even some of the stuff we have here at Jupiter One, we have some tools that when you run a deploy from your local box, it's the exact same deploy method we use when we run through our CI platform of Jenkins, right? So what that means is we build these tools so that you as a developer have a very similar experience, whether you're deploying locally, deploying from GitHub, or deploying from Jenkins, depending on what services are available. We help to build these tools that just make things much faster for you and more efficient.
Very cool. I think that actually overlaps with a question that we had. I really want to try and say your name, but I don't know how to say it. But it's a cool name. Give an example of what an SRE does. And I feel like you've started touching on that, but like, what does your day-to-day out look like, and how does it play into these overall objectives?
Yeah. So
thank you for the comment, by the way.
SRE is, because of the nature of our work, and we work with a lot of other teams, it covers a wide array of topics. Let me double check. I wrote some notes down so I made sure I can answer what this looks like.
Drew just rage quit again. Everyone shamed Drew.
Oh, nice. I keep getting lagged out.
I run around and by myself with my baseball bat in one hand.
So, what was the question again? I apologize. I'm blind to watching.
Day in, day out, what does your job look like?
Yes. So with both teams, like generally your organization will have sprints or whatever organizational method you use to fill out work. And so SRE work, a lot of it is driven by external teams and kind of helping understand what they need. So, Carter, if your team's rolling out a brand new service, they probably want to know, hey, what are the key factors in measuring this service, right? How do I make sure that the service stays up and running, right? If it's going to have a backend database, maybe there's questions, maybe they don't have a database expert. So SRE is there to help kind of guide people to understand, like, hey, maybe here's what you need to scale your service to, or here's how many pods you need to be running inside your Kubernetes cluster for your service if you want to maintain that 3 or 4 nines uptime. We can also go even deeper into the code aspect, right? So maybe it's, hey, this service is taking a really long time to respond to something. SRE can kind of help dive in there and maybe look and understand where the hangup is happening. And so a lot of that also comes from going back to the measuring piece. We'll implement, be responsible for anyway, tracing and metrics and logs and kind of tying all that together. I'm a huge fan of APM and tracing, where you're like, oh, this service all of a sudden takes an extra 50 seconds to respond for some reason, which is unacceptable. Well, if you have tracing installed, right, SRE can kind of, if your SRE team is supporting that, they don't always, but you can go in and see like, oh yeah, here's a change that we made recently. We can look at this trace right here and say, show exactly where that's at. And that kind of helps drive that process.
Very cool. I feel like I've said very cool actually after all of your questions. I need to come up with a cool
It is really cool. And it sounds like SRE is like doing literally everything.
Yes.
That's a lot.
But it's fun. And so, going back to understanding what the different teams work, one of the things that I like to do, I steal a quote from Ted Lasso, is be curious, not judgmental.
I love that so much.
Right?
Nice.
I sit in almost every Slack channel I can, which sometimes can be overwhelming. But really what I do, going back to how do we define our day-to-day, I look for a developer who's like, hey, I'm having this problem. And no matter what that problem is, try to ask questions and see, is it something that SRE can assist with? Whether it's like, oh, I'm trying to deploy this, I'm getting an error I don't understand. Well, if you get an error you don't understand, that means our deploy process isn't necessarily broken, but maybe we need to improve it to make to make your developer experience even easier.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're interviewing, this is where my mind just went. But like when you're interviewing for an SRE position on your team, let's say like I don't know, like a higher mid-level or like a senior one, what do you expect to be able to come in and do the job and provide value like out the gate? What are some of the, like, how do you vet for that? Because that's very different than being like, can you do foobar or filsbar? That's not an effective interview, by the way, either, everybody. But
so, like most teams, SRE still does have people who are, you may interview for a specific thing. Recently, JupyterOne, we've been working on our observability platform, kind of like I mentioned earlier. So that's one of the things that we were interviewing for, is people who are familiar with our stack uses like Prometheus and Grafana. So we were looking for someone with that familiar. So you're still going to look for those things. Then a lot of it comes down to identifying and troubleshooting, right? Finding where errors could be. And so usually our interview process, there's your basic technical questions, but we'll do a deep dive into like, hey, this service is broken. And we kind of just start with there, right? Like, hey, we have a web service, it was newly deployed. All of a sudden it's returning 500 errors. Walk us through that troubleshooting process. And we're not necessarily looking for someone to get to the right answer. Usually there is no right answer. We have a list of things that the service is always broke, right? No matter how many things you fix. But we kind of want to see people who can keep diving down a little bit deeper and keep poking around and figuring out what's going on. Because that, going back to that earlier, Ted Lasso statement, curiosity is the big thing, right? You need to be able to look at things and just ask questions about why they're doing what they're doing and how they're doing what they're doing.
Right. I feel like that's a surprisingly applicable like methodology for just engineering. There's nobody likes the engineer that comes in with like, why the hell are you doing it this way, you idiot?
Right.
I think I channeled some stuff there. To use our sister podcast's motto, we should probably unpack that, or let's unpack that. We'll do that another time. So you mentioned like some of the tools, like Prometheus and Grafana. I think those were the two, right? And there's obviously more tools in that. Are those how if I want to like get into this, or if I want to shift into SRE, how do I gain exposure to those tools, and what does that look like? Let's say like if my day job does not let me, like, can I do that on my own? Like, what's the path into that knowledge?
Yeah, and I want to be clear, observability is not the only way, but it's a good way to start.
That's one that I've wondered though. It's like I would love to know more about these tools, and I have no idea how to gain that knowledge.
Yes, so observability is a great way into SRE because measuring things is so important. And luckily, so there are some paid services, right? There's a ton of paid services out there that do a lot of great work around observability. But we run a self-hosted stack, and it's Grafana, Prometheus, like Tempo. There's a whole bunch of services that are together. Yes, you can run it all at home though, because they have an open source version of all of these. I actually run the same observability stack we use here at Jupiter One. I run at home. Obviously, it's a much more limited version. I don't need as many things as we have.
What are you observing at home though?
I have just a bunch of home lab stuff, like some services that run, some media servers, some like Twitch bots that I run and things. So I wanted to just kind of watch those and make sure that things are running effectively. I use Home Assistant for a lot of home automation. So
very cool.
Yeah, but yes, you can run that all locally at home, right? Depending on the company you're going to, Kubernetes is the big thing right now. You can run Kubernetes at home. If you want to get into AWS or GCP, they offer free tiers of their services that you could use. SRE is not solely cloud-based. There are some on-premise things we do, but a lot of SRE at a lot of companies is going to be cloud-based providers. So use those free tiers and just poke around, right? Just kind of like, hey, if you don't know how Lambda works, run a Lambda. If you don't know how ECS works, run an ECS task that serves a web service. Most of that stuff is free.
That's pretty cool. That's like a part of like a stack. It's like a part of a stack that I normally wouldn't think to do as like a hobby project.
Yeah.
It's taking the hobby project one step further and like really like giving a hobby project some love and respect and observability. Maybe like.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. Like for me, when I came here to Jupiter One, I'd never used, like I'd heard of Prometheus and Grafana, and I know people used it for measuring stuff, but I'd never set one up myself. So before I stepped in, I was like, all right, let's deploy this throughout our entire organization. I wanted to know how it worked. And for me, the best way to learn how it worked is hands-on. Everyone's different. So I was like, let me set it up for my existing home stack. I just, it's not plug and play. There are some things you got to do, but I essentially plugged it into my existing home stack, got it up and running, and I could play with it there. It's also nice because if I want to make changes here, a lot of those I can test, at my home lab and see, is it working the way that I expect it to work, and without breaking the experience for everyone else.
That's very, man, now I'm trying to think through like my own things that I want to do for that and like how I'd use that. So I don't use Home Assistant. I use Habitat for my home automation, but I can think of some things that I could definitely.
There's a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things they're called Prometheus exporters or service monitors, and basically like Prometheus, because it's open source, a lot of people write things for them. And essentially what that does is like, so Habitat probably has a Prometheus exporter, which all that does is it creates a new port that you listen to that publishes the metrics. And those metrics can be self-defined. There's probably someone who's defined good ones. And then you have your Prometheus instance that's connected to Grafana. Just scrape those metrics every so often. And then you build whatever you're looking for, right? Like maybe you don't need 5 nines at home because it's a home project. Maybe you just want to know, has it been down for more than an hour? Well, great. Then
I guess I can get up and push the light switch myself
right.
once a year.
Yes.
This might be a good This might be a good breaking point for us to actually stop for our intermediate section. Also, I think Drew needs to catch his breath after just getting sent to.
Okay, my ping is so bad. This is just not even fair. I'm getting obliterated with your bat.
Only game I've ever beaten you at.
I'm actually upset about it as well. Like I'm trying not to show how upset I am.
Home run after home run. It was just
brutal.
The fences there. We had one moment where it looked like our characters were hugging each other when we died at the same time.
Yeah, I thought that was
it was an intimate spot. I think, is it time for Drew's news?
Yeah. Oh, hey, Devin. Welcome to this special edition of Drew's News for Tuesday, April 20. No, this isn't Tuesday, April 25th. I am Drew Johnson, and today we have a unique story from the world of video games. Let's dive in. Have you ever been 360 no-scoped by an aquatic mammal? Well, get ready to meet Spike, an extraordinary California sea lion who has mastered the art of video gaming. Scientists from the U.S. Naval Marine Mammal Program have programmed a system to study the cognitive enrichment in marine mammals. Spike's ability to control a cursor on a screen and complete increasingly challenging games marks the first recorded success of its kind. Spike's gaming sessions not only provide valuable research opportunities, but also promote happiness and well-being among these talented marine mammals. With more than 750 gaming sessions under their fins, Spike and his fellow sea lions have shown improved weight maintenance and a love for gaming. That's it for this heartwarming edition of Drew's News. Join us for more gaming updates. And until next time, I'm Drew Johnson, encouraging you to make a splash in the gaming world. Sorry. It's hard to keep composure. I'm working on it.
That's a good sign off. You could be a full newscaster with that.
Hey, shout out to
you to make a splash.
Let's dive right in. Listen, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's now the progress is done. Like it's there.
It fits the theme. Yeah, Spike would probably be wrecking the in-fight arena right now. This is embarrassing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to upgrade my character here. I'm gonna buy some bear paws and some medium plates. I don't have enough coins to purchase. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna buy light plates and get back in the game here. But thank you for that. So, tell me you're a gamer without telling me you're a gamer is kind of the actual title of this episode. I feel like you have an affinity for. I don't even know. There's something there with the sea lion though with Spike. That was kind of a banger, Drew. Actually, I'm color me impressed. I was a little skeptical of your ability to deliver meaningful news, and I am wrong.
I appreciate that.
I mean, ever since you just got wailed upon in fight arena, aquatic mammal joke.
Man, we're just stringing them together.
All right, we're gonna come back here really quick. I got bear claws now. Oh my gosh, these are actually like bear claws. Okay.
Oh, Devin's back in this. I'm scared.
Yeah, here come the bear claws. Oh, you can do a big old bear hug. Okay, back on track with our topic. Nope, got a bear hug, Drew. There we go. Yeah. Oh, you got the bear claws too, Devin. Nice.
Yeah.
Right, full bear hug, Drew. Oh man, Chung came in with a ringer. I'm gonna let myself.
You hit the deal.
He sealed the deal.
Wow.
Very cool. I'm gonna use that. Oh, how did you guys both find that?
You can just bolt out at once. Wow.
Yeah, the bear claws rule, but the baseball bat is. I prefer to go Negan on people. For those of you that watch Walking Dead, it feels good. So kind of, we could go and talk about kind of what do you measure. I kind of want to talk more about CICD since I have like a personal stake in your answer to this because we've talked about it. What's kind of the SRE team's involvement with the CICD pipeline, and how prescriptive are you with teams? How much do teams rely on the SRE team? Let's explore that for a bit.
Yeah, so here at Jupiter One, we use Jenkins, which is a very common one, right? A lot of people use Jenkins. It's been around a long time. It has a lot of extensibility. We're actually pretty open here at Jupiter One compared to other organizations I've been at in terms of how prescriptive we are. We write some like Jenkins calls them shared libraries, which are essentially just functions inside of Jenkins. We write those for people to be able to utilize stuff. So that like we have a Jupiter One deploy or Jupiter One build step that you can just type into your Jenkins file. We're pretty open and we allow people to write their own Jenkins files. We obviously provide guidance if they need help with understanding that, or if they're like, hey, I really want to do this, which isn't currently supported, or like I want to do it across 10 things. Can you help us like write a function? We'll do those types of things. We definitely strongly encourage a lot of things. So like there's some security scanning we do, talking about those safety checks earlier. We're just now getting to a point where, we want to start looking at how do we do some canary deploys so that we can, start a deploy, measure what's happening during that time. And if it fails, automatically roll back. Or if it doesn't fail, just keep going forward so the entire service is out. We still have some work to do there, but that's kind of one of the big things we want to start working on here.
So are you and your team, do you guys own like the creation of Jenkins files, or do you encourage other teams to do that and then you're there to kind of assist and guide on like best practices for it? So if I need a Jenkins file for my project setup and I don't know how to do it, I'm like, hey Devin, can you guys make it for me? That might be a good question to answer. I don't know actually.
So it's a great question. we will definitely make a file for you, right? If you need it, and if you say, hey, can you make this file for you? We'll make it for you. What we encourage though is we'll sit with you and kind of show you how, or we'll have documentation we'll guide you to. Kind of going back to way earlier in the discussion, we talked about how SRE kind of, we're here to support the entire organization, all the teams. If we had to help every developer write a Jenkins file every time they needed it, we would need a very large team. And we don't have a very large team. So we try to make things in a fashion that it's easy to understand. We create documentation for those tools so that the developers feel empowered to make them themselves. And then if they have questions or they still need support, definitely reach out to SRE. And we'll, again, if you're like, hey, I looked over all this documentation, I don't get it, I need this deployed now. Yeah, of course, we're going to write that Jenkins file for you, right? We're going to most familiar with that process. So we'll knock it out, and then maybe we'll schedule a follow-up to just kind of go over what we did, how we did it, how we could have helped better. That's kind of the process we looked for.
Yeah, and I can actually endorse that. I've experienced this in Jupyter One, and I forget the exact use case, but I had a need to have a custom Jenkins script, and I remember SRE kind of hand-holding through the process and enabled us to get what we needed, and now there's a custom script part of our packages. It's something to do with, I think, NPM version bumping. We wanted to bump automatically on the package JSON change. And I mean, it was super straightforward. Y'all enabled us, and the tooling was all there surrounding what we needed, and then we got it through. It was not that anyone in the audience doubted you, but I can endorse that is true.
Appreciate it.
How do you? So we've only got time for a couple more questions. Actually, man, this went fast. So how do you keep you and your team from becoming essentially tech support for everyone? Or if you are, it sounds like there is like a degree of that, at least, of like, we're here to help and enable you. How do you prioritize? If you have too many people asking at once, what's the answer there? Do you scale up the team? If you can't scale up the team, how do you pick what you're going to do first?
Very good and a very difficult question that we're kind of hitting that flux on our team right now. We use Jira here, right? A lot of people at different organizations have whatever task management system they want to use. If we're, if I'm the on-call SRE at the time and I've got 3 teams reaching out for help, one, I might ask my team, but they might already have business responsibilities. And so it kind of falls back like, hey, I'm gonna need you to make a Jira ticket. And then we'll kind of prioritize that as we can. And this kind of goes back to why we push for enablement over having us do it ourselves. Because if it's, hey, I need a Jenkins file, well, great. That's kind of low priority because it's a single Jenkins file. We're gonna probably push that to the bottom of the backlog or lower in the backlog than we would of like updating documentation to help everyone use a new shared library function. There's no real easy answer. A lot of it involves having a good relationship with different teams. Is I think a key aspect that you need with SRE is being able to, talk to other team leads or talk to doesn't have to be leads, just anyone on the team, and explain like, hey, I can't work on this right now because of this. Here's the tools to solve it yourself, or create a ticket and we can help it out. Soft skills I found are very interesting in the SRE world compared to some of the other non-SRE engineering roles.
Not to flower you up too much publicly in front of our 2.4 million viewers, but that was when I first worked with you. I think when we were talking about CI/CD stuff, I was actually really impressed with soft skills of being able to take what was objectively like a pretty vague or like a big request and handle that in a way where me and the team came out of feeling like, man, those guys are awesome, and like we know better what we need to do now, and like they gave us options of, yes, we can do it this way, but if you want to do it this way, that's fine, we'll support you, but we recommend going this way, which I thought that was
I remember that discussion
on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, you're back now, I guess. Welcome back. I was enjoying doing my somersault off the platform here. Last question. If I'm interested in getting into SRE, if I'm a 100x engineer or an aspiring 100x SRE engineer, what advice do you have for me? Where should I start? What should I do?
Yeah, so the first thing I do, if you're at an organization that has SRE, which most cloud-based organizations will have something, see if you can help them. They're always looking for help. You may not be able to do that, which is fully understandable. So what you really want to start looking at is, at least in my point of view, automating some of the stuff you do at home, whether you have solo projects or like I have some home automation stuff. Is anything you can automate? Because that is a huge part of SRE, is kind of automating that work to increase the scale. And then learning how to measure things. You don't need a full observability stack to measure things, right? You can just have a script that checks, hey, is my service running? Just a cron job or something that you write that runs every hour. Just learning the basics of kind of measuring things. Those are kind of the three big things. Learn to measure things in whatever way you want to do. It can be as simple as, simplest way. Start to automate as much as you can, just figuring out what you can automate, looking at things you already do. And like I said, reach out to your SREs at your current organization. They would probably love to have some help. And again, having that relationship built with an SRE team is super important. Like I've worked with a lot of people who were engineers who came onto SRE, and because they've worked a lot closer with these teams than the rest of your SRE team might already have, it was very easy to get changes pushed out to the rest of the teams.
That's extremely valuable. And would it be fair to say that a lot of these skills, as you're saying these skills, like understand, like measure things and all this, those are skills that'll benefit any engineer, regardless of what you're working on. Of having a good site reliability engineer, at least like some fundamentals there will help you play defense a lot more aggressively. So you have more time to play offense and do more exciting things than resolve outages.
Exactly. Exactly.
Man, you just connected like 5 things here. Also, this ties in very heavily. I like that the answer here ties in very heavily. Thank you you must have done this on purpose. It ties into a lot of the output with Xander that we talked about last week in regards to hobby projects. If one of the best ways to learn these things, if you want to do a job that you're not currently doing, is do it on your own. Don't wait for somebody else to come and give you the opportunity. Take it into your own hands. Make a hobby project. Do it on, make a fight arena, and then set up some observability around it. Figure out one you want to measure. This guy's been jumping around a lot here and doing somersaults. Maybe we should give him something to do when Drew's not here. Evan, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Wisdom, and we will catch you again in the future.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
I'm going to move the game backstage as well. Goodbye, Fight Arena. It was a pleasure. How would you rate the Jake of this week's game?
Was it? I don't even know if it was that janky. I mean, my ping was like 400, so it was super laggy, but
no jank at all. That's why I won.
Yeah, and that's why I died so many 10% jank.
Because there was no jank inhibiting Carter. We did in Drew's defense, without revealing too much about where Drew lives. It's in Eastern time. Drew is in Eastern time, and Devin and I are in Western data centers. So Drew did have the largest amount of latency. We'll give him a mogul on this one. Is that a term? Did I use that right?
Sorry, I just keep lagging out for like 5 seconds.
It just fell on deaf ears. Just a mulligan. Do I mean a mulligan?
I just heard you making fun of my ping in my locale in the United States, so that's all I got from that, which is probably all I needed to. So,
Devin just messaged me in the private chat and asked if I mean mulligan. Yes, thank you, Devin. A mogul is a skiing thing, or a person who is good at real estate. All right, let me put on my glasses to check what we got here in our notes. All right, next episode is in 2 weeks. I don't have the date for that, and I cannot see the date for that with these on.
It's not in the notes.
How do you people do this with glasses? This is impossible. March 23rd. That's a Tuesday, 2 weeks from now.
March 23rd?
May. It says March very clearly. May 23rd. It looks like March, okay? Man, my wife is blind. I should probably get these back to her. All right, what else we got here? Oh, yeah, 100xengineering@jupiterone.com. Feel free to shoot us an email. Okay, I'm getting nauseous with these on. Wow, I can't commit. Shoot us an email. Refer your friends or your enemies if you want them to come join us on the show. We would love to chat with you. If you want to come and just, invade or airdrop parachute into one of our episodes and leave some comments, we'll happily chat with you there as well. Feel free to promote whatever it is you want to promote. We've had Jamaican Farmers Club come and promote here
our top advertiser.
A few months ago. I love to see the bots on here, so feel free to refer them. Any other announcements, Drew?
No, it's a good show.
That was a good show. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to. We're doing it backwards this time. Let's roll the credits. Now.